You're listening to Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information, check out chrisblair.com. Did you know that if you use Suno to do your demos, that you may be breaking the law? We're going to talk about that, if that's true, why it's true, along with other AI tools, producing, songwriting, all of that. With today's guest, I couldn't find anybody else, so it was a last minute call. Justin, how are you, brother?
Good, man. It's good to be here.
Man, Justin Morgan is in the house. We've known each other for a long time, and I appreciate you being like the 15th call to try to get somebody to come in today.
Hey, man, I'm always that guy. I will always be the 15th call. Reminds me of prom.
Oh my gosh, let's go there. No, let's not. Man, yeah, we've been talking about doing this for a long time, and there's a lot to dive into. I mean, you know, I literally, like, we could have a full episode on you as a writer, you as a producer,
a short one, but yeah, we could.
The AI tools, all this kind of stuff. But just talk about, you're from Texas.
Yep.
Just fill us in, just very debriefed version of how you got into music as a kid and what brought you to Nashville.
Yeah, man. So my dad was always musical. We had so many different kinds of music in the house. I mean, I remember, sitting in the car, like we'd get home from Walmart or whatever, right? And Dad would be listening to Glenn Miller or Benny Goodman, some big band artist. He loved big band. And before I could go in the house, he would quiz me and be like, okay, what song is this? Who's the artist? And it's like, I'm 11 years old. I'm like, Benny Goodman, Begin the Begin, or, whatever. So I grew up just loving all different kinds of music. And when I was in high school, I started a punk band, and I just loved the energy of it and loved the rebellion of it, I guess. And started doing that and started touring in this little, bad punk band. But from 15, we started touring and having our parents drive us around. And then I remember my parents at 17, the summer of my, I guess, sophomore year in high school, they let me take the Suburban, and we toured all the way to New Jersey and back from Texas. Man. And now being a parent, I'm like, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah.
But did that for a long time, and then kind of transitioned into like this pop rock band, kind of like the less angsty version of it, I guess. And it was like this Christian pop rock band, and that's when we started getting some recognition in Nashville and started getting some calls from labels and doing some showcases. And that's back when they had GMA week here in town, and it was this big, it was kind of like CMA week for country, but for the Christian side. And so in 2000 something, me and my band came up here and played some showcases, and I remember being like, this is amazing. Like, this place, like, there's just so much music. And I think we played like 12th and Porter, one of those, and went to some showcases, and I was just like, dude, this is amazing. So, kind of made the decision then. I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. And so, by this point, I think I had dropped out of college and started touring. And side note, my mom was a teacher. My dad's a doctor. And I called them and said, hey, I think I want to drop out of college and go on tour. And they were both like, do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they kind of were like, school's not going to work for you.
Yeah,
like,
you're not a doctor, bro.
Yeah. They were like, go do the music thing. So I did, and I spent 5 years touring, and eventually it looked like, we need to be in Nashville. And so we played some showcases. It looked like we were getting close to maybe signing a record deal, or at least like heading down that path. And on the way back from one of our showcases here, the band broke up. So we'd been sleeping in a van for 5 years, and like, this was the moment where we were like, hey, all these record labels are calling. Like, that's when they were like, yeah, this is getting too real. I think I'm out. So got back to San Antonio at that time, where I was living. I was engaged, and my now wife was like, hey, when we get married, like, let's just move to Nashville. And I was kind of waiting for her to say it, because I didn't want to, push the issue. And I was like, let's go. So we did. In 2011, we moved here and toured a little bit longer as a solo artist, and then realized I think I like writing music more than I like getting out there and really playing it, And so signed my first publishing deal in 2013. That was kind of more of a Christian deal, and you
were in Christian music for what,
I was
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years, and it's I met so many great people, and I love the heart behind that, but it just wasn't for me. I kind of needed to keep my faith and my career separate, I think.
Totally.
And so I I had just signed a new deal, my second deal, 6 months in, and I went to my publisher and I was like, hey man, I need to stop writing Christian music. And he was like, but you're signed to a Christian publishing company. I was like, yeah. So, and I fully expected him to be like, okay, bro, it's nice. Like, we'll see you. Good luck. He's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, man, I'm from a tiny little town in Central Texas. Like, I grew up with horses and, running around on 60 acres. And like that's what I know. Like, I love that. George Strait was like the first, like, artist with that's not Benny Goodman that I listened to.
He was your first crush?
I want to do, I want to do that. And I want to do TV and film music. Like, it's just fun. And he was like, my Christian publisher was like, cool, let's do it. And so I still had a deal there for 4 years.
That's awesome, man.
On the one hand, I was like, can you guys get this done for me? And on the other hand, I was like, thank you,
Yeah.
And man, it was New Frontier, and they just went for it with me. And it was so cool. I mean, honestly, like, finding a publisher that's just like, hey dude, we'll try it. Like, that's what you want to do, we'll try to do that. We'll support you in that. So
that's awesome that they supported that. Cause I think you're right. Most people probably would have just been like, this is what we signed you for.
Totally. Yeah.
But I think that's a good transition. Like, talk about like the TV and film. Like, we've talked a little bit on this podcast with sync licensing, but it's been like, it doesn't come up much.
Sure.
I mean, you did a lot in that world.
Yeah. That was one. So my publisher, Chad Segura, he had kind of like pioneered the sync thing at Word Records, when he was there, or the publishing arm of that. And so he had gone to LA and made a lot of connections. And really, how it happened, man, I wrote this one song with a buddy of mine. And I just sent it to Chad, and I was like, hey, I don't really know what this is. It was just like, it had a lot of energy, and it was fun. It was kind of dark and anthemic. And he heard it, and he was like, man, this sounds like this could work for movie trailers. Like, this, I think this could be something. And so he kind of got fired up. And at this point, he had, moved to Centricity Records, and that's where I was signed. And he's like, I'm just going to start sending this out and see what we get. And so he sent it out to a bunch of music supervisors, and he just got a really great response. And so he called, and he was just kind of like, hey, maybe do some more of that, Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so, like, started really focusing on kind of that. And my way in really was kind of like the dark, brooding, anthemic, like Imagine Dragons kind of, feel thing. And so started doing that, and started seeing success from it, and like started getting, little movie trailers and advertisements and TV promos and, little spots in MTV shows and whatever. And man, I just, I didn't really have a whole lot of success in the Christian music industry. It was just kind of like, a cut here and there, we'd have a failed radio single, and it was just kind of like, man. So seeing your song, performed behind, a movie scene or in a commercial or whatever, and, being able to tell your parents, hey, it worked, you know what I mean? We got something, and watching that and knowing that like millions of people just heard your song at the same time. It's just, it really was like it was really cool. And also, I mean, from a just financial standpoint, it's like, you get a cut in any other normal genre, you get a cut, and it's like, then you wait, right? The album has to come out, and then sales have to happen. And then if it goes to radio, I mean, you're not going to get a paycheck for 2 years, Sync, a lot of times it's like, hey, this placement happened, and 6 weeks later you get a check in the mail. And it's like, wait a second, what? You can make money in music? What, what's going on? So,
and good money.
Yeah, it really, it can be substantial. And so, I just kind of found out that I kind of had a knack for that. And over the next 4 years, we did pretty well with that. And, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. I still do some of that. It's a lot of fun, man. It's in it. It allows like a different part of your creative brain too. You know what I mean? Like, the rules are different. You can say things in TV and film that like you just would never be able to say in a radio song.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
It is a cool world. I don't have, a big cut by anybody. I don't have that Combs hit, the Wallen hit, whatever. But hey, when you walk into Cracker Barrel, and you hear the overhead going, sipping on sweet tea.
Hey, is that you?
With my family.
Come on.
That's my sync. Yeah.
Let's go, man.
I love that world. What do you think like is the hardest to kind of break into that world? Because it does seem like, I don't know, like cult's not the right word, but like it's like you've got to you've got to really know and be connected to get those submissions and like say like, hey, like we're looking for this type of song for this film or this show or whatever to be, and I think like, I don't know if it's, I'm not connected to that world very much. So I don't know if it's still like this, but I remember years ago, talking to some friends that did a lot of that. And a lot of times they would be like, yeah, we'll get an email. And it's like the first one that gets the submission in typically wins. And
so what happens a lot of times, man, is like, especially with ads, like you'll have, initially like the ad agency will be like, here's what we want to do. Right. And so the first hurdle is kind of getting in with the ad agency and getting their first like vision board. And so they'll go and quote a lot of times. They'll be like, hey, how much could we use this? And sometimes it'll, literally be like, hey, we want to use this for 2 years, $275,000, all in. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be rich. Right. And then, you don't know that they've actually told like 75 other people like the same terms and that kind of thing. And they're considering all these songs. And then they'll kind of focus in on, okay, this is kind of our temp track. This is what we want to use. But then they still have to go present that to Pepsi or present that to Mercedes or whoever they're working for. And a lot of times those brands will come back and be like, oh, no, that's not what we want. Like we want either a known artist or we want something that's never been released or we want something that's on this theme. And so then they will literally go back to all the same people and be like, okay, new vision. And I've seen that 10 or 12 times, like on one project over a year and a half, them being like, hey, now they want this. Now do you have anything like this? Or can we tweak this to be like this? And so that can get, frustrating. I remember there was one time I got a brief and it was like, for this movie trailer. And they were like, here's a synopsis of the movie. Like, this is what's going on. There's this budget. It was a healthy budget. Like, and, a lot of times they'll send like their song that they can't afford, right? And so it'll be like, we'd love to use this Bruno Mars track, but it's $400,000 or whatever. So like, if you can be in this vein, like this is the kind of vibe we're shooting for. And they sent me this brief, and it was like, here's the vibe we're going for, and it was my song, and I was like, hold up, let's talk. Like, let's just figure out this song, right? And so, because I knew that they were sending that out to 500 people.
Yeah.
And so I called the guy and I was like, hey, dude, what's going on? Like, and he's like, dude, they love it, but they want something unreleased. And I was like, oh no, man, I'll pull it down. Like, what do we have to do? But that was the first time I ever actually saw that where the brief song was my song. And I was like, man.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it was cool. Hey. It was like, hey, here's the song to beat.
Justin, I'm going for a vibe like you, but like not like exactly like this.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times they will like end up going with the vibe song, and so sometimes that is just you just kind of sit and wait. But yeah, I was talking with a supervisor at a big ad agency not too long ago, and I just asked him, I was like, man, when you send out briefs for like whatever big brand you're working with, like how many submissions are you getting a week or whatever? And he's like, man, I don't know per week. He's like, I can tell you that yesterday, I sent out a brief earlier this week, and he's like, I can tell you that yesterday I got 500 songs in. Oh my God. And so some advice that I always tell like writers, so I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I now have a company where we work with writers and try to give advice for that kind of thing.
No, we're not going to talk about it.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, then so what you should, one thing I always tell people is like, a lot of times all you get is your title. Right. And so like, we always try to have these like super creative titles and stuff. And it's like, dude, make the title what the song is about, because what they're going for, this supervisor's got 500 titles to look at, and he has to pick about 50 that he can actually listen to. So he's going to look through those and be like, doesn't work, just based on the title. And sometimes they'll pull up and just look at the waveform and be like, does this have enough dynamic, right? And so like before they ever even listen to it. And so they'll narrow it down without ever listening to a song to 50 songs and listen through. Wow. So there are some like tricks like that, but just know that there's that much competition for this world too.
Well, how do you even get into that world though?
Well, I mean, having a good agent is the best, I think. And there's lots of agents that will work with independent writers, man. There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
We do it. We have our own in-house agent right now that we work with, but there's a lot of them that, normally they'll take like a percentage of the sync fee or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But having a good agent that's constantly going to LA and staying up and getting those briefs, because what they'll do is, if an agent has 50 writers they're working with, 5 supervisors will send them briefs that week, and they'll send them out to their 50 writers. And sometimes, like you said, it's like sometimes you have 6 months until we need to be filming this. Sometimes it's like, hey, our temp song didn't get cleared, and we need something tomorrow. Like, and it needs to be custom. So start writing right now.
Yeah,
you know. But
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about Pearl Snap Studios.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, you started that like about a year after you moved to town.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like we got here. I was freshly married. My wife was working in advertising, and I was just I just quit my band and like was not making any money. And like freshly married, you want to help. You want to help contribute. And I'm just sitting at home, and man, I had like applied for like the delivery job at Pizza Hut and like all these, and I couldn't get hired. Like I was like, okay, this is starting to get depressing. And so I just literally went on Craigslist and was like, hey, I'll do a demo for $200 for whoever needs a demo. And I thought nothing's going to come from this. And that week I got 3 orders in. So it's like $600. Are you kidding me? Like this is amazing. And I thought for sure it was a fluke.
And now I wish I could get you to produce a song for $600.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But it was like the next week more came in, the next week more, and it just never. Luckily, like I said, my wife's in advertising, so she was like, "Hey, why don't you start like some contact management and reach out to people?" And we started getting repeat, business. And I guess 12 years later, or whatever, 13 years later, here we are, and we probably do 400 or 500 demos a year now, I would say.
That's crazy, man.
Something like that. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. And you've got clients literally like all over the world, right?
Yeah, man. We've done demos for people in Africa, Australia, all the like Caribbean islands. I mean, probably, I'm sure we've done them for every continent, at this point. We do a lot of them. So,
so just for everybody listening out there, and we'll put stuff in the liner notes too, but where would everybody go to find that?
Yeah. If they want to check us out, we're www.pearlsnapstudios.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Staying kind of in the production, I want to talk about your achy breaky heart moment.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of a fun one. I remember I was watching the Grammys, and I get a phone call from my buddy Paul Duncan, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna just tell you the weirdest sentence that you've probably heard in your life." And I was like, "I've had some pretty good ones." Like it hit me, and he was like, "I gave Billy Ray Cyrus your number yesterday," and I was like, "Okay, that might actually do it, right?" I was like, "Okay," and he's like, "Yeah, man, we wrote this song. Him and his fiance wrote this song with me, and they want to get it, they want to get it demoed, and they were like, do you know anybody that would be good for this?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually, I think you should call my friend Justin." And he's like, "Look, they may not call, who knows, but just wanted to let you know I gave him your number." And I was like, "Man, thank you, And sure enough, yesterday I'm at my studio at BMG, and I get a text message from Billy Ray Cyrus, and he's like, hey bro, like, got your number from Paul Duncan. Like, would you have time to chat today?" And I was like, yeah, that's great. So we talked. We ended up talking for probably like 2 hours on the phone, and I was like, this guy's awesome. Like he's such a cool dude. And his fiance at the time was there too, and we were just kind of talking about like what they needed and what was kind of going on with this. And so I did a demo for them, and they loved it. And so they called and were like, "Hey, we want you to produce a couple of songs for us, like to put out, like actually produce these record." And I was like, yeah, like I remember walking into I walked into Chris Ogilvy's office, because I was writing at BMG at the time, and I was like, "Hey," he's like, "What?" And I was like, "I think I'm going to be producing some songs for Billy Ray Cyrus." And he was just like, "What?" Like, what? And it was a couple weeks before that, my desk was right next to my studio was right next to Chris August, and right before, like literally a couple weeks before that, Michael Bolton had come in, and Chris had ended up winning production on a Michael Bolton song. So these 2 young producers landed Billy Ray Cyrus and Michael Bolton in like a month's time, and it was just so random. But yeah, so I produced a few songs for Billy and his fiance, and Billy called me one day, and he's just like, "Hey man, would you our song's coming out on this day, and we're playing the Grand Ole Opry, like we'd love for you to come play with us." And I was like, man, and I tried to talk him out of it, honestly. I was like, "Man, I'm not a great guitar player, like I'll probably mess it up, you probably don't want that." And he was like, "We really do, man." He was like, "I really want you to be there." He's like, "I don't want to stress you out, like if it stresses you out, say no, but think about it, and like we'd love to have you there. So I gave it a day or two, and like my wife was like, "Are you kidding me? Like you just got asked to go play the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
Like who cares if you mess up? Go play the Grand Ole Opry." So okay, you're right. So
if somebody asked me to go play fiddle on the Grand Ole Opry,
I'll let you know.
I would be like, yes, and I can play 2 notes. It's Dave Matthews. Bam, bam, bam. That's it.
Hey, when Dave Matthews comes through town, though, like you're the guy.
I got it.
You're the guy. So yeah, I mean, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And of course, like I told my parents, and my parents told all my friends, and that kind of thing. And so my best friend calls me. He's like, "Are you playing the Grand Ole Opry?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." He was like, "I'm there. I'm coming." So like my best friends from Texas flew in. My parents flew in.
So cool, dude.
And so they're there, and like 3 hours before we're going to go do sound check, Billy calls me, and he's like, "Hey man, how you feeling?" And I was like, "Man, I think I'm good. I'm ready. Like, I think I'm good to go, you know?" And he's like, "All right, well, how's your voice feel?" I was like, "Good. Why?" And he was like, "You're taking the chorus of Achy Breaky tonight."
Yes.
And so
I love this story.
Oh, dude, it was so like, and let me just tell you, man, you have never seen middle-aged women get more excited than when that first, I mean, they rushed like the Opry stage. I was like, this is amazing. But one thing I didn't know, you get a like 12-minute rehearsal with the house band. And Billy, just being Billy, he's an artist, and he's just like veteran, but he just changed the key on like 3 of the songs and was just like, yeah, so we'll do it in this key. And I'm like, hey, these guys are all pros. I'm not a pro. Trying to rechart like in the moment with a 12-minute rehearsal. And
where's my capo?
Oh, dude, I was so nervous, but we got it done, and it was an absolute blast, man. And
that's so cool.
And Billy like legitimately is so good to like give recognition where it's due. So like, at the Opry, he knew my parents were there, knew my friends were there, and he was like, "Hey, I want to take a second to thank our producer, Justin Morgan. This song came out today, and we wouldn't have been possible without him." And like thanked me on the Opry stage, which was just like, with my parents there, my friends. It was a really special night, and yeah, man, it was really cool.
I love that, man. Yeah, and you were. What was it? Good Morning America?
Yeah.
Was that the right one?
Yeah. So at the Opry, Billy was like, "What are you doing in 3 weeks?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And he was like, "Well, we're playing Good Morning America. We want you to come." So did the same thing. Went and played Good Morning America with him. And man, same thing. Like during the commercial break, he was like, "Hey, I need to make sure that you guys get a close up on Justin and like that we thank him during this thing." And on that one, it was kind of funny because I didn't really tell anybody I was doing it. And so I get text messages from like my 8th grade, science teacher or whatever. Like, "Did I just see you on Good Morning America?" Because everybody's
You're just like, "Oh yeah,
getting ready for school and or whatever, and it's on." So that was fun, man. And again, like when I was touring back in the day, I had this conversation yesterday on an airplane. Actually, I was like, man, when I was touring back in the day, like I said, we were sleeping in a van.
Yeah.
Like if we got to stay in a Motel 6, like we had it made. And so like being able to like be on a bus and take a jet and like play a Good Morning America, like it was special because that's what you always dream of, and it kind of scratched that itch for me. Now I'm able to let's say like, okay, I did it. It wasn't me as an artist, but I got to experience it, So it was really fun.
It's really cool. I mean, I think, people that think about it, like they would realize like, yeah, this makes sense. You don't start out in a bus,
right?
Unless you're on like the show The Road or something, and you're like, hey, like see what it takes to make it on the road, and like we're gonna put you in a $3 million bus.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I just saw who did this. Drew Baldridge just a while back posted like something cool about like his bus. And he's like, "You guys know that I didn't start out in this."
Yeah.
And he I don't remember what he drove around, like a Suburban or something, but he did this whole thing where he's like, he still has it, right? And he's like, this is my road.
Yeah,
this is how I got started. And, and like shows like, here's my closet, and it's the back of the Suburban. Here's my closet now. And it's like, all those kind of things. But, it's so cool to go from like you being a road warrior out for 5 years or whatever it was. And then like being able to walk onto the Grand Ole Opry and just do those things, dude.
Also just so unexpected. Like I thought, I mean, I hadn't toured in 10 years. I hadn't played. we were talking about this not long ago. I've never played the listening room because I just don't. I'm a producer mostly. Like I don't get to play out a whole lot. So
yeah, well, we have pretty high standards too. So.
Well, that's true. That's true. So like I would be at the next level, whatever that is.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't play out a whole lot, and so I kind of thought that part of my career was done, and I wasn't going to get to play in front of people anymore. So like to go from the last show I played probably was a little writer's round somewhere, and then all of a sudden like I'm playing Good Morning America in the Grand Ole Opry. I was like, man, like I feel like I kind of got lucky in getting to skip a lot of that middle thing. And even again, like I wasn't the artist, but like at this point in my career, I don't need to be the artist. It's cool to be a part of it, to be there. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
I love it. I don't want to spend a lot of time because I want to get to, in the intro, I talked about Suno and like that people could potentially be breaking the law. And I want to get to that. And I know you've learned so much in AI, and it's a controversial world. It is, especially in music right now with all that. So I want to get to that. But, I do want to take a time, man, like you play writers rounds around town, not the listening room, but we're going to fix that. But we've done songwriters festivals together and just have a blast. Having Philly cheesesteaks at 2:00 in the morning and
got you in trouble next day. That's fine. Okay.
But people know you as a great producer, which you are. You're a phenomenal producer. But you've also written some great songs, and one that just happens to be like one of my favorite songs. I was just talking about this not too long ago with somebody that, it is moments that I'm walking in the listening room and, when I get numb to songs, I hear so many of them, so it's like, it's gotta be something super special that just makes me stop and go, wow. Yeah. And I mean, years ago, I don't even remember how many years ago, you could tell me cause you wrote it, but, Josh Melton was playing a show. Oh yeah. Yeah. And you know where I'm going now. Yep. And I'm new, in the infant stage of being a dad and, and all of this and, was with I think my third child at the time. Yeah. But in it where Josh, had come off of being his first child. Yeah. And, Different Empty Bottles. Man. Yeah. One of my favorite songs.
Oh, just that was a good day.
I'd love to take just a couple minutes and take me into the room that day for like, obviously, I know what the song's about, but like for all the listeners, like set it up. What is that song about? And what were you guys going through in the room that day to come up with a brilliant hook like that just honestly ticks me off because I didn't come up with it.
The funny thing about that song is, so it was me and Josh, and like I had just had a kid, and we were fresh in the middle of the whole like just the roller coaster of having a screaming child at home that you love more than anything in the entire world, but you're also going crazy. And Josh was about to be in that, and so it was us two, and then Phil Barton. And if you know Phil Barton, the fact that Phil Barton's on that song is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah. Like I want to see Phil be a doodad. Like that would just be hilarious. But basically Josh was just like really honest and was like, man, I'm kind of terrified. Like I'm an artist. Like I haven't like had my big break yet. Like I'm not like just crushing it on the road yet. And like, how do you? His wife, I think at that point was a bartender and doing like a lot of just nightlife stuff. And so it's like, how do we do this? And I was fresh into that because like I said, we had just had a kid, and the same thing. It's like, hey, I remember when my wife was like, hey, I think I'm going to come home once Bowen's born. I was like, but I'm a songwriter, right? Like, that I'm in the music industry. Like we don't have stable income. So just, those kind of insecurities and stuff. We were just talking about all that. And, we were talking about how life was going to change, Mm-hmm. And so, the course of that song is, it used to be Bud Lights all night with the chilling with the guys. And now it's rocking you to sleep before I try to sneak out of there. Anyway, like it's just a different life. And we were talking about how life was going to change. And I think it was Josh that was like, I'm used to drinking beer. Now I'm going to be giving him a bottle of milk. And we were like, whoa, hold on. Beer is a bottle. Milk comes in a bottle. It's different bottles. Like you're just trading one bottle for the other. And And man, it honestly, that song kind of fell out at that point. It happened quickly.
Such a brilliant hook. Man.
Well, thank you. And it was cool too to be able to like sit with Josh. I think at some point we finished up the write, and I think Phil had to get off to somewhere else, and me and my wife got to like sit with Josh for a little bit and like just kind of talk to him about all that. And we prayed with him and prayed for his wife that, you know, labor and delivery would go okay and all that. And it was a special one, man. It was, and I've always loved that song, and I kind of thought it died. And then about probably, I guess it was 2 or 3 years ago, when Josh called me and was like, "Hey man, I'm going to put this song out." And he was like, "It needs to be you that produces it. Like, I just can't think of anybody else I would want to have to produce this song." So that was special that I got to write it and then years later also produce it. And
yeah.
And Josh is a brilliant human being, great writer, amazing vocalist, and he carries it well. So
yeah, he really does.
So yeah. And then, you know, I hope he's okay with me sharing this, but we've kind of connected lately because we both have kids that have some special needs. And so it's been really cool. And not knowing, I didn't know that my kid had some special needs at that time when we were writing this song, and his kid was in the womb. And so we were writing this song about the, you know, these two kids that like need a little extra love sometimes. And it's really special, especially going years later, knowing that and getting in the room and producing it and being like, man, like, we didn't even know what we were writing about at the time, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a special one, man. I love that song.
God had a hand on it, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I just, you know, I wanted to, I know that like we talked about what we were going to talk about, and this was going to be a slightly different podcast than we typically do.
Sure.
We're diving typically into the stories behind the songs like that and having people play some music and all of that. But I felt like I had to at least touch on one because you're such a great writer, and that's such a great song. So everybody out there listening, go check it out. Different Empty Bottles, Josh Melton. It's a blow your mind. It's a great song. Man. Inside Pitch Club.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man, this is a fun thing. So another buddy of mine, Brandon Chase, is my business partner in that, and we were in my studio writing for his group at one point, and you know, he does a lot of demo vocals and that kind of thing. And I, you know, obviously produce a lot of demos with Pearl Snap Studios. And so we have this like huge, like group of independent songwriters we're working with all the time. And he was like, "Man, do you get asked to pitch songs a lot?" And I was like, "Oh, all the time. Like all the time somebody is saying, 'Hey, can you get this to Tim McGraw or whatever?'" And it's like, it's not what I do. You know what I mean? I can produce it and get it to you. That's where it kind of stops. But he's like, "Have you ever thought about it? Like, you know, actually pitching for these people, trying to figure out a solution for that." And of course, yeah, I had. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, and so I was like, man, there's got to be some way to cross market this. But there's, you know, you've seen it in Nashville. There's just such a false market of I'll pitch your song for $100 a month, or I'll, you know. And a lot of times, what ends up happening is a physical CD is burned of all these different songs, and then it's taken down to Sony, if they're even doing that at all, Sony or Warner or whatever, and handed to the receptionist and been like, "All right, I pitched your songs, you know, and give me my $100 a month." Goes right into the trash. Right. So, and there are a few companies that do it better than that, you know, but we didn't see a solution really for like what we would have wanted when we got to town. And a big part of that is there are some great companies out there that most of them are focused more on education or song camps or that kind of thing. We really wanted to be kind of a bridge between the independent writer that's like ready for a deal or almost ready for a deal and a published writer. And so we don't focus on education. Like we do some education, but we don't focus on education. Like we pitch songs. Like that's what we do. We have 3 song pluggers. We went out and hired 3 song pluggers, 1 like dedicated sync plugger. And we spent a long time like interviewing pluggers because we were like, who would we want pitching our songs? And at this point, I actually came out of my deal in BMG. And so I was also interviewing like, I want some song pluggers, you know? And one of our pluggers is actually somebody that was on my publishing team at BMG. We ended up hiring him because I was like, I like this guy, and he's young and hungry. He's going to go get it. So hired him and another veteran song plugger and then a sync agent. And man, we're creating opportunities for writers that weren't there. I mean, we partner with a different like up and coming artist every quarter to guarantee a cut from our catalog. And so I'll produce it and
for free, right?
For free. Yeah. I'll produce for the artist for free and be like, hey, find a hit in our catalog. 'Cause we've got some amazing songs in this catalog. And all of them have been like, heck yeah. So they'll go find a song that they love. I'll produce it for free. And we'll put it out. And that gets our members like a guaranteed cut. Somebody from our membership is going to get a guaranteed cut. And we're always going to stay boutique. We're not going to have 50,000 members,
Yeah.
So basically it's lowering that competition pool, but we're doing things at a very, very high level. Cause our thing is what we say all the time is like, if we're not competing with Sony and Warner and BMG and the other majors, like, then there's no point in us getting songs out there. And so,
well, and you're also not, I think, you're not taking ownership of those songs, right?
Yeah, that's another.
This is a subscription.
It's a subscription base, yeah. So we don't take a single percentage point, and we're non-exclusive too. So, I think that's the other big thing is a lot of these places that will pitch songs or that have avenues to get it to a publisher, like eventually it usually comes down to, okay, now we need to sign a single song deal and take 50% of your publishing. And we don't touch that. It's like, we want our writers to be able to go sell their catalog in 5 years and retire,
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think the main difference of what we're doing is that we are treating it like a major publishing company, and our standards are that high. And so it does get frustrating, I'm sure, sometimes, because people are like, hey, I've submitted 10 songs this month and only one made it into the pitch catalog, or only 2. And it's like, yeah, because that's the one that's competitive, and that's the one we're going to go pitch like crazy, So,
yeah. So what is a subscription cost?
It's $150 a month.
Okay.
So we don't hide the fact that we're more expensive than a lot of the other options out there. But again, the difference is we're not taking a percentage of your song, and we're not, and we're like, we have 3 pluggers that are dedicated to a very small pool of writers. And so,
let me ask you, so because you're selective and you're not just taking any songs, let's say a new artist that's moving to town, new writer, that's listening to this podcast is like hearing about this. It's like, oh man, this is cool. They're young, they're hungry, but they're also bartending and scraping by.
Yep.
How do you guys do it to like ensure that they can get something in there, if that makes sense? Like, would they just sign up $150 a month and then they're sending you songs and there's no guarantee that they could get there? Or is there like a onboarding of like, hey, send me your top 10 songs and we'll tell you if you're good enough?
Yeah. So we have you get 10 submissions a month with membership. So they're sending in up to 10 songs a month for our pitch catalog. And then we have a second tier we call it the bullpen. And it's like, hey man, these songs weren't quite there yet, but these are good songs. So like, we're going to spend some more time with this writer. And so we have what we call pro hangs every month, and we bring in a different pro every month to like meet with our like small groups of writers at that point then in the bullpen, and they're able to interview, ask questions, and that kind of thing. And then we also have a monthly song contest, so everybody's eligible for the song contest every month. And then we have a song review also that we do. Like, we have a panel of pros that review songs every month, and so you can send in your songs and get those checked out. And if it's also one of those things to where like, I get it, man, $150 is not everybody can do that, and that's what we say. We're not for everyone. Like, we are for the writers that are at that level and willing to take that step. But if you kind of want to test the waters, like, we have a la carte submissions as well. So for $15, you can send in a song, and it has the same privileges as a member song. It's just that you're sending one at a time.
Yeah.
And you don't get to do the pro hangs and the more like custom, production stuff. But
it's really cool what you built, man. I think it's awesome, and
thank you.
I hope that a lot of our listeners, jump on board, because it's cool. So,
well, you know what, we'll do a coupon code for them.
There you go. All right.
You want me to just make one?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. We'll do story behind the song 25. You'll get 25% off your first month. How about that?
Let's simplify it. Okay. SBTS 25.
SBTS 25. All right, 25% off your first month. Right,
stories behind the songs abbreviated. SBTS 25.
Yep.
There you go.
Sweet. Now, my business partner's going to be like, what? You know what? Forget it. Man, we're really excited about it. And tonight I'm leaving here to go to a release party for our members that have had cuts this year with us.
Oh, so that's great, man.
It's so cool we're handing out plaques to our independent writers from Texas and from Kentucky and from all over the place. We're handing out the plaques because they got real cuts with real artists. And it's just so cool. I mean, there's one guy that we're handing a plaque to today, and that his song was performed live on America's Got Talent to 10 million people. Simon Cowell literally said, "This is such a well-written song." So we watched it together, and he was crying. It's so cool. But that song has been out. I mean, they've had that song recorded for a good while, and it was just like, nothing was really happening with it. So to be able to give a great song new life it's rewarding, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a writer. You know what I mean? Like this is what we wish we had 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
It's special.
It's great. Cool. All right. Let's wrap it up here in the AI world.
Yeah.
You have, you've done so much research on this, and you and I have had countless hours of discussions on this kind of stuff. Where is your opinion right now as we sit of AI?
Man, it's so nuanced, right? Because it is, AI can do some incredible things. And there are, just like anything, like it can be used for good, it can be used for evil. And I think it's a mixed bag even within music. The reason I had to start researching this is because when we started Inside Pitch Club, literally a little over a year ago, all the demos that we were getting in were human. And within 3 or 4 months, it was like, man, about 10% of these demos are AI, and then 20, and then 40, and now it's probably 80% of the demos are AI. And so I had to very quickly go, can we pitch these? And so I like literally spent time like calling publisher friends, calling A&R people at labels, calling managers, calling lawyers, and being like, hey, how do we feel about this? I kind of took my own little panel of the industry and was like, how do we feel about this? And people were great to talk with me and respond. And it's mixed. I mean, at that point, it was like, demos, yes, we're okay accepting demos, but anything that's going to get put out, like there shouldn't be any AI on it. Now even that's kind of changing, but that was the consensus. And so I was like, okay, so we can pitch these, I think. Should we pitch these, And so kind of started digging in and doing some more research on the like terms and conditions of these companies. And man, I don't want to come across as like, don't use AI, because I think there are merits to it, and it really needs to be an individual decision, honestly. But what I do want to do is kind of make songwriters aware of the risks and like what might be coming down the pipe. You know what I mean? Because it is, I looked at the terms and conditions again yesterday for probably the leader in AI music creation is Suno, but there's several, Udio and Songer, and there's several out there. And from what I see, the terms and conditions are similar. And the biggest red flag, honestly, and I'll just jump into it. Like, even with a paid membership, a lot of times people are saying like, well, I have the paid, pro membership, so I'm fine. It's like, well, Suno gives you the right to commercial use for anything that they create if you have the paid membership. But what we don't understand a lot of times is that they're also taking their own license and saying the terms and conditions say, anything that you upload to Suno, they have a worldwide, perpetual, which means forever, assignable, which means they can give it to anybody else they want to, license to use your song and any piece of your song any way they want to for commercial gain, and pretty much literally any way they want. And so they don't hide it in their terms and conditions that like, hey, we're going to use anything that you give us for machine learning. Like you are going, like what you give us, we're training our models on to go use in other places. It also straight up says that they're allowed to use pieces of your melody or pieces of your lyric to give to someone else. So in theory, and I'm not saying this is what this company is going to do, but what they have the right to do, they have the right to. Let's say you write a song, or you write a lyric, right? Killer lyric, but you're like, man, I'm not really a melody writer, but I have this killer lyric. So you go upload it to Suno. Suno creates this great melody for you, and you have a song now, right? Well, you're a paid member, so you can go do what you want. You can go pitch that song as long as you continue your membership. You can go pitch that song and do whatever you want with it. But let's say 2 weeks later, I come along and I'm like, man, I have this melody, but I really need some lyrics, and I want it to be about, a guy that's got a 67 Camaro and he thinks he's really cool and he owns the listening room and like he just thinks he's the coolest guy. That's what I want my song to be about. And so literally Suno, if they just wanted to, they could be like, well, you have a melody. We got this lyric in 2 months ago. We'll just use the chorus and the first verse from that, and we'll give that to you, and then we'll pull some other things. And like legally, there's nothing you can do about it. And what they're saying, like, they're not saying that I would own the copyright, and they're not saying that you would own the copyright, or they're not saying that you don't own the copyright, but you've given them a license, a worldwide forever license to let anybody else use it for free in perpetuity, however they want. And so the way they're getting around the copyright infringement thing is they're like, well, we're not taking your copyright. We're just getting a license to use your copyright any way we want to. And so that's where it gets kind of scary. And you know, they in their terms and conditions, they straight up say like, hey, we can't guarantee that what we give you is copyrightable. And so
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in our industry that use Suno.
Yeah, tons.
I mean, I was just talking to a good friend who we both know a month ago or so. Yeah. And I also want your opinion on this side of it too, as a producer.
Yeah.
But, you know, like from a demo standpoint, this guy doesn't even go in to a studio anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes like he'll even have a lick in his head for a guitar or like whatever. And it's like, and he just sings it. Right. And it's like, so, but if I write a song and I write it with you and two other artists, it's a 4-way, right? We all have publishing deals, or maybe half of us do.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I take that song and I come out of that writer's room and I'm like, I really like this song, but, either A, we don't have a good demo, so we're going to use Suno to do that, or maybe I didn't really love the work tape and I wanted a different type of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I breaking the law if I ask Suno to make a demo for me?
Most likely, yes. And that's where this whole thing gets even crazier. And this is, I think personally, like I'm not an expert. I need to say that like I'm not offering legal advice because I'm not a lawyer. Yeah. But I think this is where lawsuits are going to happen. Because,
you weren't going to be an attorney or a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. My parents were like, go ahead and drop out of school. Yeah. You know, when you sign up for Suno and you upload a song, you have to give them consent. Now, we're not reading this stuff usually, right? It's one of those things. But we're warranting that we own or control 100% of everything we're uploading, right? So this brings up another interesting point of like, if you played guitar and AJ Cross sang, right? And then let's say Emmett Stevens Jr. is over here writing with us too, and he hits record on his phone. There's 3 different owners of that master now. And it's not a master, but it is a master. A recording is a master. And so there's 3 different owners of that master, and there's 4 people writing the song, and they each have a publishing company. There's 8 different owners now of the composition. And so you've got 12 people that technically have a say in whether or not that song can be uploaded to Suno. And if you're the one uploading it, you are infringing on the rights of 11 other people, which is wild. But to say that you own it now, like, okay, so this is where the lawsuits will happen, right? And they do have tracking ability of what songs have been created with AI and what haven't. But if that song gets uploaded, and let's say that Suno does get shady, or one of the other company does get shady and uses part of that verse, well, who are they going to come after now for? Because Suno has the right to do it.
Yeah.
You said you do. You're the one that said, I own this song 100%. I have the right to upload this, right? And so, you know, 4 publishing companies have the right to come after you and be like, I didn't give you permission to upload that. Like,
so you talked earlier about sync. So, you know, is it possible? Is this what I'm hearing? Is it possible that Pepsi ad that you were talking about earlier, all of a sudden has this song in it that has been created by AI by somebody totally different other than these 12 people that own this song, because it's been uploaded and now somebody else is like, I'm trying to do this, and it takes part of it, right? Because we're given. So I could be watching this Pepsi ad and go, dude, that's my song.
Like, wait a second, that's my whole first verse.
And I call my publisher and I'm like, what is going on? I didn't know that this is happening. They don't know that it's happening. And then they find out that one of the co-writers did this. That's where you're saying, like,
I mean, in theory, and I'm not saying that's what these companies are actually setting out to do, but they have the right to do that. That we're giving them the right to do that in the terms and conditions. And it says by using this platform, you are agreeing to these terms. And, you know, at that point, who is the publisher going to come after for infringement? probably going to be the person that uploaded the song, right? And so these are those things we need to be thinking about. Also, like I said, Suno does not guarantee that your song will be copyrightable. There's two parts of a copyright. There's a master copyright and there's a composition copyright. And so depending on which part you're putting out, if you're putting out a song that's recorded by Suno, the master copyright it's non-existent. You can't get a copyright for the master because it's recorded by AI. The composition, the law right now says it has to have significant human involvement. I guess I can't think of the words, but significant human involvement. And so, that is so vague that it's setting it up for in 3 years us having lawsuits going like, well, you need to clarify, what does this actually mean? And then, is it possible that copyrights could be rolled back or reassigned? Yeah, I think it is. And at that point, like, things are going to have to be pulled down from, streaming platforms. And I think, and this is all doomsday, right? Like, this stuff may not happen at all, but I'm saying that there's a possibility that this thing gets pretty hairy. And, I just think, I think the biggest thing right now is just, we don't know. Here's the other part. Let's say that Emmett, who's an artist, a great artist, is the one singing on the demo, right? Well, we're also giving them like the ability legally to emulate his voice and basically create an AI version of Emmett's voice. That's one of the bigger things too, is like, okay, well, now 13 other artists on Spotify have Emmett's voice on their thing. Like that's a really scary part of it too, because they're not even saying they have the right to. On that one, they are saying we will use your whatever you upload for machine learning. And if they wanted to build an Emmett Stevens Jr. voice model, they absolutely could. I mean, where do you think they're getting these voices from?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So,
man, it's so interesting. I mean, it's like how do you compare this to like the Napster of our generation?
Oh, it is the Napster of our generation. Yeah. We right now, I and a few other people that aren't really loving what's going on are the like less aggressive Lars Ulrich of the Napster generation, going like, hey, hold on, wait a second, you can use my contributions like for free and train AI to write. It's a scary thing, and here's another. This was really interesting to me. There was a record deal that happened with an AI artist a while back, and completely AI. I don't know if you're like me, but like when I hear an AI recording, I can tell in a second and a half. Yeah. I'm like, yep, that's AI. It's just, and quality will continue to get better, but right now it's not good. Right. It just doesn't sound very good. It's cool, doing cool stuff, but it doesn't sound very good. But this AI artist, there was a poet in Mississippi who writes beautiful poems. And so she started feeding Suno these poems and had this, AI model start singing these songs, and signed a record deal with this fake artist. And the record label gave him $3 million. It was a $3 million signing bonus for this fake AI. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, wait a second. The masters aren't copyrightable at all. So what are they actually paying for? Because here's what we actually have, what you and I have the right to do now. I believe, the way I read it, like, if a master is not copyrightable, then I can go rip that master off of any of the streaming platforms and just record the audio myself and re-upload it to Spotify as me or as a different, and use the exact same audio. All I'd have to do is get a license from the songwriter, and as you know, it would be a cover at that point, so they can't tell me no. They can't tell me no. And in fact, since I'm just doing digital streaming, I don't even have to have a license. So literally, I'm surprised that there's no protection for that copyright at all. And so, because there's not a copyright. So I'm kind of shocked that they would pay any money for that, because like I said, any of us can just go steal that audio and re-upload it as our own. I don't get it. Crazy. It's wild, man. I mean, I guess they have a trademark for the name of the artist, but that's it.
Yeah. Wild. I mean, it's where, again, kind of going back to like newer writers that don't have pub deals. They don't have a draw that they get to live off of, and a publisher that will send them into a studio to do demos. Yeah. Do you feel like there's any pros to using something like that?
Yeah, I think there's a way to use it if you're going to use it. And that's what I always say, man. I try not to be like super judgmental because it is expensive, man. I own a production company. I know what it costs. I
Yeah.
know it's expensive. And, you know, if you're writing a lot of volume, you just don't have the money to go get 8 demos a month. And I get that. And so with Inside Pitch, you know, we get the question all the time, like, hey, is it okay? And I'm like, hey, you got to make the decision for yourself, but we will pitch it. And I get it. Like, I just do. I get it. The advice that I'm giving people is like, if you want to feed those 8 songs a month into Suno to kind of get an idea of what they might sound like, because we all know, like a guitar vocal, sometimes it sells it, sometimes it doesn't, right? And if you want to hear that song kind of built out to go, is this a viable song or not? Like, I think that's probably the best use for AI right now. I think those songs that you've lived with then for a couple of weeks and you go, dude, there's something special here, man. Like, there is something really special about this song. Like, maybe go pay for that one demo. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, or, you know, I don't know, maybe find producer writers that can do that and work with them on some of them. But, you know, I get it. It's hard, and it's a very, very affordable option.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it's actually going to cost in the long run. It might cost you more than you're saving right now. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the best case scenario is like use Suno and these other companies to find the ones that you love, and then maybe invest in those, you know?
Yeah.
But
It's crazy, man.
it's a crazy world.
It's the wild, wild west.
It is, man. I mean, I wonder how far AI goes into other things. We were talking earlier. It's like, man, you know, are we going to go to a baseball game and it's just going to be 2 AI teams battling it out in baseball? And it's like, would you pay to watch that? Probably once. You know what I mean? The first time I'd be like,
but yeah, I mean, like, you know, with VR, you know, like,
yeah,
I don't love it. Like,
Totally.
I can't get into it, but the younger generation that grows up around this stuff and like, that's all they know. Like, there could be a world in 20 years from now where you're sitting at home on your couch and you put on some virtual reality and you're literally watching your favorite sport that you've made up in your own mind with two teams. It's like, I don't know. Or you put on
crazy VR goggles, or there's just what it is at that point. And like, you have a family that's not real. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
my gosh, bro.
It's crazy. You know, we don't know, but yeah, man, it is one thing that's kind of interesting. If you look at like the history of recording, the history of like sonics of music, every 15 years, it just gets better and better and better. Like, you started out with like the Edison, horrible quality, but so cool that they were able to do that. And then you go to the 45 and like you go up through time, and it's like a little bit better sound quality, a little bit better sound quality, a little bit better, until you get to like, you know, tape, and then you get to the CD, and we're like, oh my gosh, CD, this sounds incredible. And then from there, it's just gone down quality, because you went from CD to MP3 to streaming, and now we're at AI, and AI is worse than vinyl.
You're right.
Really. I mean, and it'll get better, but like, it doesn't. I mean, it does. There's cool parts that are being played, and I think that's what captures people, is like the parts, and like what's being produced sounds pretty cool, but the sound quality is awful. Like, it's really, really bad.
Yeah, but also with that, I mean, I think like a pitch for you and other just great producers out there is like, when you go into a studio with a real producer and a real engineer and real session players, like all of that, like, you are paying for a production that is forward thinking.
Yeah. Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you were like, whereas like AI, I was talking to a guest actually on this podcast a few weeks ago that was like, I forget how they said it, but it was like, you know, AI is always looking backwards, and that's it.
That's all it can do. Yeah. That's really interesting. That's a good
you
point.
know, so it's like, yeah, like, cool. You get this cool guitar lick or a great demo that sounds just like this other guitar lick in this other song that's been uploaded, or it's Jason Aldean's voice, right? Totally. Like something like that. Yep. Where I think that's the saving grace, hopefully, is that people will see that in our industry and keep doing that. Otherwise, like the creativity of how, just take country music alone. Yeah. Like going from, you know, the Cash and Christopherson era to the 90s country, to the early 2000s, to the bro country, to like, you know, all the cycles that we've gone through. Yeah. Like, it's always it's always forward thinking.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, what if the cycles just stop?
It just stops.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
it's just,
dude,
there's nothing new and unique. Like,
imagine if the Beatles, if they were only allowed to use the playbook of like 50s doo-wop, like we wouldn't have Yellow Submarine, you know, like we wouldn't have any of the Beatles, you know, like, or if the Beach Boys, you know, had never made their Pet Sounds record because they were only allowed to do the beach thing, you know, and it's like, man, you're right. I mean, you're very, very right. I mean, the reason we have David Foster and Phil Spector is because those guys were the ones that broke the mold and went like, no, let's do this a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get, you know, Chicago's Rebirth record, and you have Celine Dion, and you have, you know, all these amazing, amazing records that you were like, that literally couldn't have happened without a producer in that room going like, hey, what if we did this? You know?
Yeah.
So that's a great, I mean, I think that's a great sales pitch right there. Yeah, man, I don't know. Well, I guess and just like with Napster and streaming, I do think like we've got two choices. Like our first choice is just to like sit back and fight it as hard as we can. Be like, nope, not going to do it. You know. And then the second one is kind of the evolve or die. And it's like, how can we use it? Like fight the injustice parts of it, right? Like, because there are some injustice parts of it. Fight those. How can we make them better? And how can we preserve the integrity of music? But knowing that like AI is probably not going away, you know what I mean? Like when, like technology doesn't go back.
No, AI is not going to go away.
No,
not a chance. Mm-hmm. But I think like, I think there's got to be like, you know, I mean, it goes all the way back to like, you know, when Napster and streaming first started, it killed the music industry.
It did,
you know, and we have never recovered from that.
No.
And you know, there's just gotta, it's going to be the same fight. You know, there's gotta be like, I mean, I use Chat GPT all the time.
Sure.
I've now started playing around with building my own AI agents to handle like just thoughtless tasks that we have to do with the listening room.
Absolutely.
You know, like the emails that come in, it's like the people that just don't want to read the FAQs and they send out a form of like, do you have food? Yes, we have a full menu on our website. Yes. You know, those kind of things. Like AI in those ways is phenomenal, and to be able to teach it how to do those tasks where you don't have to pay somebody to sit at a phone and answer the phone to answer the same 15 dumb questions every single day.
Yep,
wonderful.
We were talking at lunch today with my business partner. We were talking about, hey, we, you know, because we pitch a ton of songs, and so we've got a pitch log of thousands of pitches now. And it's like, if somebody's like, hey, can you tell me how many times this song has been pitched? I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me go into the spreadsheet and, you know, whatever. Man, I can feed that spreadsheet into this and I can get everybody's pitch detail like that. And those things, you're right. It's very, and who knows, like there might, like the people from Microsoft Excel might be having a podcast right now going like, it's killing our industry, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I can see where, you know, they are looking at this, being like, what are you talking about? There's just more music. It's great, you know? But the fact what makes me sad is like music is a thing that has the ability to connect with people more than about any other like medium of art or anything. And the fact that we're trusting computers with that now is just, it's sad, man. It really kind of breaks my heart. And I do think that there's this analogy. I've used this with songwriters that are just freaking out. And they're like, what if we don't have jobs anymore? Or producers like, what if we don't have jobs anymore? I think the analogy that I like to use is this: in the 1700s, if you wanted to hang a beautiful painting above your fireplace, you commissioned an artist, a very talented artist, and you had them come live in your home for a week or a month or whatever, and you paid them a ton of money to paint your family. And then you put that one of a kind piece of art above your fireplace, and people came in and marveled at it and was like, whoa, where's that? Oh, I got it from so-and-so in France. Call him, he'll be here in 2 months. And that's how you had to do it. There was no other option. Nowadays, if you want to hang a painting above your fireplace, you go to Marshall's or you go to Home Goods and you pay $19.99. But for those people that can still afford it, and there is still a market for very custom art, there is a premium for custom art, and there's not near as many outlets for it as there used to be, but there's still, if you can afford it and you want something that's custom, you still pay. It's the same process. You still pay a painter to paint that custom piece for you. And so I think all it really does for us writers and producers that are kind of worried about is then just get really good at what you do.
Yeah.
Like, cause you can only be replaced if you're not better than the next guy, you know? So for those of you, for those people that are like, want to stay relevant, just be the best. You know what I mean? There will always be a marketplace for the best. And for custom.
So what are you going to do to stay relevant?
Well, I'm just going to be better than you. So I'm good. No, that being said, like, I'm done. I'm out of here.
I love you, bro. Man, yeah, this is great conversation. I was on an interview, man, several years ago, and I don't even remember saying what I said. You know, it was just like, it was, I was just talking, right? Like, and it was afterwards, my publicist at the time was like, do you like what you just said? Like, that was brilliant. I'm like, what are you talking about? What did you say? Yeah. And it's now painted on our building, as a mural. But I was thinking about that as you were talking about it. And the saying, is music is the universal language of our world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music comes to us through song. Mm-hmm. Every song has a songwriter.
Yeah. I love that, man.
That was it.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, when I said that, AI wasn't even thought about, right? So it's like every song has a songwriter, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I feel like is like that we can't get away from.
Right.
Or if we do, music will not be the universal language of our world.
100%. Yeah. And man, we literally, this podcast could be 8 hours of us just talking about the implications of AI. And I know
don't
we
like
can't
you that
do
much.
That. Totally do.
We're done.
I've got more important things to do. But there's so much to it. But you're exactly right. And it's interesting, but what you just said, we painted a mural on the side. AI didn't do that. You didn't go buy that mural.
Ty Christian, who's a brilliant artist that lives in Florida, that comes up, and he's painted a ton of murals.
Yep.
In Nashville and all over the place. And he did the famous colors mural with all the different shades of people, right? From black and white and brown and red. And like, you know, like Ty Christian is that artist who now is spray painting art on people's shoes that they're wearing at the ACMs. And like, you know, he's brilliant, but he is a person who is a dear friend of mine that pours his heart and soul into taking shades of colors and spray paint and everything like that. And he creates,
which
it's
I think
not a machine.
I think that goes into what we were saying. Like, you can go buy the shoes anywhere. They're just normal. But if you want those custom one of a kind that you wear to the ACMs, you have to get somebody that's brilliant at their craft to do it. Yeah. And I think that's where music is still going to be human made. The best songs are still going to be human made. I just don't, we talked about this earlier, but like, imagine finding out that the house that built me was created by AI. Like, it would break my heart.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, I would also quit. you know? Like, I already almost quit when I hear that song, but hearing that, like, if I heard that was not human created, because there's so much heart and emotion in that. Yeah. I don't think that AI will be able to connect on that level. I could be wrong. I hope that I'm not, but I don't see how a soulless, heartless machine can make me feel that much. Whiskey Lullaby. Like, I just don't think that it can make me feel that much. You know?
I agree.
And I think as soon as you find out that a machine did create it, you stop feeling that much anyway. You know? I do. Yeah. You know, so. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you. Thank you for spending some time. I don't know if we've got any listeners left. They've probably gotten bored by this point and signed off. I know sitting here listening to you chat your mouth off for over
I checked
an hour.
out like 30 minutes ago.
I am done with this conversation as well. Last question though, man, everything that you've learned, you can go back to Texas to 8-year-old you, and which you could probably do in AI world in some point in the future.
Right.
You go back to 8-year-old.
I haven't evolved much since 8-year-old me. But we're pretty close. But.
Yeah, I'm aware. What advice would you give yourself today?
Man, I think honestly, I'd probably just be like, hey, dude, chill out. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Because I think. You've probably had this conversation. I've had this conversation with artists and writers so many times. Like, if you could go back and say, look what we've done at this point, like, you would be thrilled with where you've come, right? But all of us look at our friends that have 50 number ones or 20 number ones. It doesn't matter who you are. There's somebody more successful than you, but you've done something that your younger self is proud of. You know what I mean? And so I think that's literally where I would be, is like, hey, strive to be excellent and strive to be the best you can be, but also like cut yourself a little bit of a break. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I would do.
That's great. Love it. Dude, thank you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Always fun hanging out. And thank you guys for listening. If you're still around, we love sharing stories behind the songs, and I thought this would be a really cool episode to kind of dive into the the AI and just a little different twist. So thanks again for listening. It's been another episode of Stories Behind the Songs. I'm Chris Blair. You've been listening to Justin Morgan, and we will see you next time. This has been an episode of Stories Behind the Songs with Chris Blair. For more information after the show, head over to chrisblair.com. That's where you can find information on these episodes, trailer notes, video links, all kinds of great stuff. Also, make sure to leave us a great rating on iTunes, like and follow us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. I really hope that you think this show is awesome, and we really appreciate the love and support. I promise to keep gathering great content and continuing to sit down with more amazing songwriters and artists as we grow. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for the support. We'll see you next time.